Senior administration officials told NBC News that the U.S. stopped a large shipment of offensive weapons to Israel last week in a sign of its growing concern over a possible military offensive on the city of Rafah in southern Gaza.
This comes as CIA Director Bill Burns meets with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, continuing efforts to try and secure a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas.
Okay, let's bring in now Dr. Jeremi Suri, a professor of public policy and history at the University of Texas at Austin. Always so good to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me on.
Okay, we have a lot to break down right now. We know that Hamas has agreed to a ceasefire. Israel has not accepted, stating it really doesn't meet its core demands. What will happen, or what needs to happen to reach a truce?
Well, the Israeli government argues that they need to have some way to continue to take action against Hamas. They don't want to pull all of their forces out of Gaza and find Hamas regrouping and launching attacks on Israel again. So Israel needs to feel secure that it will not be subjected to a repeat of October 7th or something of that kind. And Israel needs to believe that it will get all of the hostages back. Right now they're concerned that Hamas is pledging to basically drip a few hostages out every few weeks or every few days. So it's about the hostages and it's about Israeli security.
Ceasefires like this have happened in the past, so what would make this one different? And this is the big question, I guess. What would it take to bring lasting peace to that region?
Right. Well, the first one, this ceasefire that's under negotiation would be different because it would involve, at least as it's on the table now, all of the Israeli forces withdrawing from Gaza. So that would mean that we would go back to something that looks like the status quo ante before October 7th. And Israel is wary of doing that because Hamas is still operating within Gaza. Now, that also shows that Israel's military operations have not succeeded. With all the force they've used, they have not been able to completely eliminate Hamas as they thought they would. So that's the problem we have now. This would be a different ceasefire because it wouldn't just be a pause as we've had before. It would be a military withdrawal, and that's what the Israelis are hesitant about. Now, what do we need for long-term peace? Fundamentally, we need a rethinking on both sides. The Israeli government and the Hamas leadership need to recognize that continuing to fight is undermining both of them, and they need to undertake a new path toward cooperation. It's hard to see that happening in the short run. That's why the Biden administration is pushing for a ceasefire and then hoping to move toward more negotiations. The ceasefire would only be step one.
Gotcha.
Okay, and the U.S. has really made it clear that it does not support Israel invading the city of Rafah. That's where those reports are about the hostages. And so how do you see the U.S., though, responding if an invasion does happen?
Well, the Biden administration has already taken pretty strong action. They have refused to send a series of bombs that they were going to send to Israel to put into its arsenal. And they're not sending those weapons because they're concerned that they would be used to kill civilians. The Biden administration would respond to a full-scale attack on Rafah, not the smaller action we've seen, but a full-scale attack by voicing opposition because of the civilian death that would almost certainly occur. There are more than 1 million people in Rafah, and even if some of them try to move, there's really nowhere for them to go. And that level of civilian death is really disproportionate with the goals that Israel would have in going after a small number of Hamas operatives. The U.S. government supports action against Hamas, but it doesn't support the mass killing of civilians.
So you had mentioned this about the Biden administration halting those bombs to Israel because of this threat to Rafah. So what difference do you think that will make? I mean, we're the most powerful country in the world, so what difference will that make in this endeavor?
Well, it has a short-term practical effect because the Israeli arsenal relies upon supplies from the United States. So it actually takes certain weapons off the table, or it makes it harder for the Israelis to use those. But I think it also sends a message. Biden has said repeatedly, our president has said, that we support Israel's right to defend itself, but we also believe there have to be limits on how Israel uses force. And if they don't obey those limits, the president will take certain action to limit Israeli access to certain American supplies. That doesn't mean we won't give them the weapons to shoot down missiles from Iran, but we might not give them the weapons they need for offensive operations. In the long run, that's a problem for Israel. And so the hope is that that puts pressure on the government not to take some of the offensive operations that we don't want them to undertake.
Okay, Professor Jeremi Suri, as always, it's good to see you, and thank you so much for breaking it down for us this afternoon.
Thanks for covering this.
Yeah.